We're doing a study in the book of Ecclesiastes, and I want to invite you to turn with me to Ecclesiastes chapter 4. And I want to share some thoughts from the passage with you this morning. Ecclesiastes is a book that was written by who? Solomon, a long time ago. Who was Solomon? Wise person, lived a colorful, intriguing, amazing life, and wrote some amazing scriptures. And near the end of his life, he wrote the book of Ecclesiastes. And in it, we can sort of learn some amazing things. In Ecclesiastes chapter 4, starting in verse 1, Solomon is writing about this big thing called life. How many of you have lived a full life? Not yet. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. That was a trick question. We were at a funeral yesterday, right here in First Baptist Church. Center section was full. Some of the wings were full. And we had to celebrate the life of a very special lady. Some of you know Hazel Walters. And it was really amazing to hear some of the stories and look at some of the pictures. And we saw a life that was a full life. And Solomon is alluding to that near the end of his life. He's writing this major thesis. And he says things like, "Again I looked," Solomon says, "and I saw all the oppression that was taking place under the sun." Bill alluded to some of the violence going on in our own province and in our region. And there was something that Solomon knew all about. He looked at the oppression that was going on. "I saw the tears of the oppressed," he said, "and they have no comforter. Power was on the side of the oppressors, and they had no comforter. And I declared that the dead who had already died are happier than the living who are still alive. But better than both is he who is not yet born, is he who has not yet been, who has not even seen the evil that is under the sun." How many of you have labored for a long time? Maybe some of us are retired or thinking about retiring. And someone mentioned this morning, maybe we may not be able to, we may have to unretire and re-retire or whatever those words are. But here Solomon's talking about the labor, and in verse 4 he says, "And I saw all the labor and all the achievement that spring from man's envy of his neighbor." And when I read it again through the past week, my heart was pierced, because I thought of, the words of Solomon. He said, what, all labor, all achievement springs from man's envy of his neighbor. And I thought of all the things that I had done because I'd wanted to sort of impress somebody. Or I want our church to be a really good church. You know what I'm saying, don't you? Like, I want to sit around with all the other pastors and say, "Oh, yeah, your church is good, but our church." You know what I'm saying, right? Jackie, we know what we're saying. I mean, and then the words, the next of the verse that said, "The fool folds his hands and ruins himself." And I thought exactly of my attitude in that kind of thinking. "The fool folds his hands and ruins himself. Better one handful with tranquility than two handfuls with toil and chasing after the wind. Again I saw something meaningless under the sun," Solomon writes. "There was a man alone. He had neither son nor brother. There was no end to his toil, yet his eyes were not content with his wealth. When is enough already? For whom am I toiling," he asked, "and why am I depriving myself of enjoyment? This too is meaningless, a miserable business. Two are better than one, because they have a good return for their work. If one falls down, his friend can help him up. But pity the man who falls and has no one to help him up. Also, if two lie down together, they'll keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken." And he closes the chapter off by saying, "Better a poor but wise youth than an old but foolish king, who no longer knows how to take warning. The youth may have come from prison to the kingship, or he may have been born in poverty within his kingdom. I saw all who lived and walked under the sun followed the youth, the king's successor. There was no need of all the people who were before them. But those who came later were not pleased with the successor. This too is meaningless, a chasing after the wind. My simple life. I want to talk to you a little bit this morning about less stuff. Some of you have got way too much stuff going on in your life. Someone say amen. Someone say amen real loud. Amen. You do. I thought to myself, when I retire, I don't have a clue what that means, but life would slow down. And I talked to some of my friends who have retired, and they are crazy busy. They are busier than they were before. And I talked to some young couples, and these couples are just busier than they were ever before. I talked to some students, and they're just busier than all get out. And I talked to different people, and their life is, they got so much stuff stuffed into their life. They have no margin. And the series that we're doing in the month of March is My Simple Life, finding margin for what really matters in life. And we don't have to be a prophet to know that the technology that we have made three things happen in the world. One of them is that our world has become a lot smaller. Someone say amen. It has become a lot more complex. And it's become a lot faster. Our world is way faster than our parents' world, right? And you know what? The world of our children and our grandchildren is going to be way faster, way more complex, and way smaller than our world. McDonald's now has a fast track offer. I was looking at this the other day. They have a fast track offer. You can be billed automatically and save, get this, save 15 seconds off placing your order. People are so excited about it. I was reading another article and it said, remember, how many of you remember frozen fruit juice, frozen juice? You know what? Sales of frozen fruit juice have plummeted over the last number of years. And they did some market studies. You know why the sales of frozen fruit juice have plummeted? It takes too long to thaw out. We just don't have time to wait for the fruit juice to thaw, is one of the big things. And, the crazy part is our schedules are busy. How many of you are busy people? How many of you have said to somebody in the last week, I'm just really, really busy. I'm too busy for that. Whatever it is that they were proposing, you were too busy for. And we live in this crazy sort of world. And an article in USA Today said, today people are souped up, stressed out, and overscheduled. In this brave new world, boundary between work and family and friends and neighbors is disappearing very, very quickly. Everybody's mobile. Everybody and every moment is scheduled. How many of you are curious at all about this box? One person, 2, 3. How many of you would like the box? I am going to give the box away at some point. This is a gift. There's only one thought. Like if you go home today and someone said, or later on this week or something, what did he talk about? I'm going to give you this one thought right now, okay? Say yes. Okay, here it is. This is my one and only thought to you today. This is what God has said to me all week long. Tom, if nobody gets anything else that you rattle on about, I hope they get this. And this is what the Lord said to me, is that, you know what, Tom? Time is a gift from me. Time is a gift from God. I think the time is actually set to the correct time. Am I close? Or is that yesterday's time? Is that time yesterday? It'll get right twice today. You have bought into a lie. Some of you have bought into a lie. I have bought into a lie. I have this crazy idea that, you know what? My time is my time. That I have this certain amount of time, that this is mine. It's the precious. It's my time. And if you want my time, you're going to have to do something to earn my time. You know what? It's an illusion. Time is a gift from God.